Hey guys, welcome back to KB Small Engine Repair. How do you heat your shop? Today I'm going to show you how I heat mine and hopefully give you some ideas on how you can heat yours. I did this all myself. As you kind of saw in my shop tour, my shop is a work in progress. I'm always trying to find ways to upgrade and update it. So one of the first things I did was to add heat to my shop. I live in Utah. It gets pretty cold here in the winter. So heat was a necessity for me. So I figured out a way to heat it, and I'm going to show you what I did to do that. So let's get started. I did a lot of research to figure out the best way to do it. One of the first ways, obviously, was to insulate it. That would maintain the temperature a little bit better. So I'm working on that. I insulated the top half of my shop. It's a pretty large, tall shop. And then I needed a source of heat. I had a couple small sources of heat, and I'll show you those now. This is kind of what I started with. It is a DeWalt 45,000 BTU kind of space heater, garage heater. A lot of construction guys use this on their job site. It does a great job of heating. Take it into your garage, workshop, a house under construction. It puts out a lot of heat. I still actually use this when it's cold outside and I want to heat up the shop quickly. I'll turn this on to supplement my shop heater, which I'll show you in a minute. But this is what I started with, and it did a good job. Again, my shop is 1,200 square feet. It's partially insulated. The top half is insulated. As well as kind of my workshop area, that's fully insulated. But this is what I started with, and this did a great job. It still could probably be sufficient, but I did go through quite a bit of propane in those little propane tanks. So I just felt like I needed something a little more efficient and something a little bit more professional, something kind of more out of the way, that I could, keep on a thermostat when it got cold. I just didn't have to worry about. So that's kind of why I updated and kind of upgraded. But this is what I started with. This has been super good, and again, I still use it. I picked this up several years ago. I want to say the price at the time was about $150. I've seen this exact same style through a couple different brands. So you'll just have to look around if this is something that interests you. But it's been a great source. Now, in my little workshop area, I use a little Mr. Heater. I had this for a little camping trailer, so I brought it in here. This is kind of my fully insulated workshop area, so it doesn't quite get all the air, the heat from my heater in the main area. So it can stay a little bit cooler. So I just turn that on when I'm working in here just to get it up to temperature when I first get in the shop in the morning. This has been a great little heater. I already had it, so I just put it in here. Doesn't go through propane, very quickly. Typically, you put the little green bottles in here, but I bought the little extension hose and hooked it up to a propane bottle. One of the big 20-pound whatever. And that big propane bottle will last me quite a while. So I turn that on in the morning, fires this room up pretty quickly, gets it up to temperature the same as the rest of the shop, and then it turns it off. I turn it off, and then it maintains the same temperature with the rest of the shop with my regular heater. So that's been good for me as well, and I still use that when it gets cold. Now onto my main heater that I installed. So I use a Mr. Heater, Big Maxx, and this is the 80,000 BTU model. They say this will heat up to 2,000 square feet, I believe, are the specs. They make correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe they make a 40 or 50,000 BTU model, an 80,000, and then a 125,000 BTU model. I figured, shoot, if I've got a 1,200 square foot shop, an 80,000 BTU model that says it will heat 2,000 square foot, should be plenty. While that is the case, and it does heat this shop very well, it does use quite a bit of propane because of how tall my shop is, and because of how I have that upper level, if you saw my shop tour. So while this has been good, if you do kind of have a taller shop, or if you have a double, a 2-story shop or 2 levels, I would probably consider going with the 125,000 just to save on propane. But this has been awesome. If you have a smaller garage or anything like that, these are super awesome. Pick this up through northerntool.com. They regularly have pretty good sales on these. Again, I'm not sponsored through any of these companies, anything like that. I'm not paid to do any of these reviews or anything. I do a lot of research on my equipment, and when I find something I like to share it with people. So this is all my own doing, and Northern Tool had some pretty good sales on these. So I installed this all myself. I don't want to tell you to do that, because installing gas lines and stuff like that is probably something you should hire a plumber to do. But if you decide to do it, it's definitely doable. For this particular model, my house is run on natural gas, but because this is a detached shop, it's about 100 feet from my house. So I just hired a local propane company to come and drop a 120-gallon propane tank on the side of my shop. So I ran, as you can see up there, the gas line, gas pipe, I guess, up through the rafters. And then I came out up through the rafters, and then came down the wall, and there's a shutoff valve. I don't know if you can see it right over there behind the hose, and a stub, a little drain. This is all per code. They were super good. They kind of helped me out, told me exactly what I needed. And then it shoots out the wall. And then there's a 120-gallon propane tank right there. 120 gallons, I guess, is the biggest you can have right next to the building per code, without having to bury lines and be a certain amount away from the building, etc. So that worked out great. So I installed all the lines, I installed the heater, everything. They came and dropped the tank and pressure tested the line, leak tested the line, and then they actually came and did I can't remember the name of it, but hydrometer or whatever on my heater, make sure it was set to the right altitude, and away we went. So that was super awesome. Saved me a lot of money by not having a plumber come out. Again, I'm not recommending that if you don't know what you're doing, but I've done a lot of construction work in the past and stuff, and so I had a pretty good idea of what to do. And the fact that they came out and pressure tested and leak tested and all that sort of deal was super helpful, and kind of gave me that ease that it was all good to go. So again, this is a Mr. Heater Big Maxx. This is the 80,000 BTU model. Heats my 1,200 square foot shop. Hooked the thermostat up to it, so I keep it at a set temperature, all the time. I keep it at 55, and then that way when I come in the morning, I can I usually crank it up to about 65. That'll take about an hour and a half or so, depending on how cold it is outside. And then again, if I want to, I can just throw this DeWalt one, crank that up. Helps with that. Maybe takes a half hour to crank it up to 65, 70 degrees. And then I'm pretty much set for the rest of the day. That Big Maxx maybe kick on every half hour or so, to keep me in temperature. So again, it all depends on where you are in the country, how cold it is outside, what your insulation setup is like, your square footage, everything like that. But this is what I use to heat my shop. It's been very good for me. Keeps me nice and warm, keeps me efficient to work. I think if you are warm while you're working, it keeps you more efficient, keeps your tools from getting rusty, it keeps your equipment from getting condensation in it, keeping those carbs from rusting out or building water, moisture in the fuel tank, things like that. So I think it is important overall for your happiness and business sense and everything like that. So anyways, hope this video was helpful. just kind of showing you some tips and ideas of what to do if you are starting a shop or looking for things to do that way. So if this video was helpful, hit that thumbs up. Please consider subscribing, and leave any comments below if you have any tips for other people or things that you do in your shop that are helpful to keep heat in or things of that nature. So thank you all for watching. You guys have a great day.